Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Blue Jays Today, folks, where over this weekend, we got the news that Anthony Santander is interested in joining the Toronto Blue Jays. Usually, this is a one-way street. It's the Blue Jays are interested in you, and, you know, whomstever they are is not interested coming back, right? But this time, maybe it's different, everybody. Slightly getting my hopes up, but also not holding my breath because we know how things go with these Toronto Blue Jays. But we're going to get into that and then some more free agency news and just some other fun tidbits that are happening around the league, guys. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
I'm your host, Adam Peddle. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. It's the new year, and it's the same conversation over and over again. The Blue Jays are still looking for some free agents, and I really hope to God that we can sort of transition this conversation into the Blue Jays 2025 season. But the first things first, they got to get somebody, because right now that conversation would look like, well, what the hell, Ross Atkins? You literally did nothing, and you're one of the biggest losers of the offseason, and now you've doomed us for the entire year, and I got to watch this baseball team. But at least if you go get a Santander or an Alex Bregman that we're still rumored in on, it's not so bad. We can have some sort of optimism, right?
Yes, of course. You know, and actually, like, let's move over to the Jeff Passan article. I know that you have it up. Like, Jeff Passan, probably the most reputable MLB reporter there is out there. You know, it feels like he's kind of the gold standard for anything that happens. He released an article actually this morning talking about the winners of the offseason so far, and then those teams that need to make a move. And he used the words unmitigated disaster when referring to the Toronto Blue Jays offseason so far. And, you know, we went on to talk about how we whiffed on Soto and whiffed on Burns and whiffed on Fried and are currently whiffing on extending Vladimir Guerrero Jr. All of those things are true. And honestly, up until this point, I would agree with Jeff Passan. However, when I was reading this, I did have to put it all in perspective and just remind myself there is still time. There are still names on the board. Now, this isn't me, promising you guys that we're going to do anything. Like, I honestly, like, it's very possible that the Blue Jays don't make a move, and this is the team, and it is an unmitigated disaster, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, there are still free agents available, and, you know, until the Bregmans and the Santanders go, like, I'm waiting to really lock in the unmitigated disaster, I guess, offseason for myself. I'm hoping that we can make some more moves still. Santander would obviously stop it from being a complete disaster, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's the thing, too, and I know some people are kind of joking about my optimism comment. I mean, look, if you don't make a move, I would hands down say the Toronto Blue Jays had the worst offseason of all teams, all 30 MLB teams, because of what you were supposed to do, what you needed to do to save this franchise, or what you need to do to rebuild this franchise, and you did none of it. So that would be the absolute worst outcome. But, you know, adding in Anthony Santander, does that move the needle? It doesn't give me, like, it doesn't put me in a category of, like, oh, yeah, now we're hopeful contenders. It's, well, that's something you needed to do to give yourself a sliver of hope, right? Anything. And then if you go make another bullpen piece, you go get Tanner Scott, who apparently wants a 4-year deal. That's cool with me. I'd take that, but does he really want to be the J? Probably not. If you go get someone like that, you go maybe add another piece. Now I'm like, okay, that sliver gets a little bit thicker, and maybe, you know, we're not the worst, you know, offseason of all 30 MLB teams. But you're right. Right here, it says his headline isn't the loser. It's teams in need of a move. And we need to make a move. So let's go make that happen. And it could happen literally at any moment, or it could happen in a few weeks, because we don't know when Anthony Santander or Bregman is going to sign. It's all up in the air right now.
I think we just gotta take it like a one step at a time type thing. And I know that, you know, you always want to just keep bringing it back to, well, does this make us a World Series champion? I don't know. You know, probably not when you're comparing it to the likes of the LA Dodgers or New York Yankees or what have you. But you know what? It's one step at a time. And ultimately, even if the Blue Jays don't win the World Series next year, which they probably won't, I still want to be able to watch fun and exciting competitive baseball, right? You know, this past year we were robbed of that. And for the the last 2 months, 3 months of the season, everybody knew that it was meaningless. None of it mattered. I want to be playing meaningful baseball come September. Santander would help with that, right? Yeah. And that's honestly, like, at this point, what I'm looking for. So with all that being said, let's flash over to the latest reports on him. This is the most likely guy at this point that the Toronto Blue Jays could go out and sign, not only because they have a contract on the table, which was confirmed by Ari Alexander, but also because Anthony Santander himself is seemingly interested in coming here. However, minor holdup with the potential contract.
Right. And this is coming from Cardinals Live, and if you guys have been on Twitter or X, we've seen a lot of smoke coming from Cardinals Live, and apparently a lot of people, I haven't been too much into Cardinals Live, but a lot of people say they're very trustworthy. They've said a lot of things about the Blue Jays that are true and have a good track record. So I'm like, okay, you know what? We'll take it as it is. And so far, they've been very true about this whole, Santander situation where MLB Network and Ariel Alexander are coming out after confirming it. So this is what we got from him. Apparently, they got some word that the Blue Jays camp had a phone call with Santander over this past weekend. And also, Santander was in a beautiful place over the weekend. If you looked at his Instagram, I don't know where he was, but it was beautiful.
Was it nice?
He was living his best life. So maybe he was feeling good that I'm going to make a lot of money with the Blue Jays. We'll read into it how you will. But apparently, the tone was very positive coming out that phone call. And he says that the team understands they're close, but they're not quite there. The biggest difference right here is they need a little bit more of a year, one more year, literally, to be exact. But the Blue Jays want a little bit more AAV. They want to pump in the money as much as possible into the speculated 4 years that they're offering him. But it looks like Santander wants an extra year. But regardless, he is interested in coming, and he is trying to work it out. So hopefully the two sides can come to an agreement. Let's talk about that extra year versus AAV. For me, it doesn't really matter. Does it matter to you, Nick?
Well, I get where the Jays are coming from. I would prefer a shorter term contract with a lot of money worth, just at that one moment. Because ultimately, we're watching the downfall of George Springer, and I think the Jays are like, oh, geez, do we really want another one of these and to have to deal with that contract when we don't even want to play him anymore? So I do get it, so I would definitely prefer it to be a 4-year deal rather than the 5-year deal. But ultimately, if that's the difference between him signing with us or signing with the Detroit Tigers, for instance, you suck it up and you make it happen because we need it, and that's just where it is. Now, I think the Jays are trying to finagle their way around that, and that is why they are, flirting with upping the AAV and everything like that. Maybe instead of giving him $20 million a year, it's $22 million a year or what have you. So, I mean, I'm happy that they're, actively trying to make things work for him. But eventually we got to cross the finish line here. And that's been the big problem is we've almost been a little bit, I guess, too conservative with the contracts that we're offering. So if they start to get wind or start sniffing that, maybe Detroit's willing to give that extra year or something like that, if they got some insider info thinking that things are heating up over there, fuck it, dude. Just pull the trigger because we can't miss out on another one of these guys if you are reportedly this close and he is interested in all of these things, right? You got to get it across the finish line, however you can.
Yeah, coming in this offseason, it was a bare minimum. We needed a Anthony Santander to fill out and add power to that lineup. I think there's different ways you can go about it too. If you're really that close on just an extra year, well, make it a player option or something, or make it a club or a mutual option. Do something, right? And also, I think it's funny that Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro or whoever the hell is in charge of those negotiations right now are considering the fact that, Ross Atkins if he's really fighting over one more year here. Well, dude, you might not even be here in a year. Just effing get the deal done. You have to win right now, dude. You need the guy right now, so give him whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, of course. And
I get it. It is a better deal.
That's the thing.
For you, but for your standpoint, what are you worried about?
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
I would imagine, though, he doesn't, into, I guess, Atkins' credit, he doesn't want to leave the Jays in complete disarray, even though that's kind of what's happening right now.
We're already here, buddy.
But, so I don't know, maybe there's some higher-ups that are saying they don't want to do that, or they're concerned. I think he's still trying to do the job, to the best of his capabilities, which, there isn't a lot. But,
I hear you.
He's trying, and I agree with him that, a 4-year deal is better than a 5-year deal. But, of course, it still comes back to the fact that we just need this more than, the downside of him being bad in 5 years. Right?
That's right.
We need the bat now. If you want to have any type of competitive baseball next year, that's just what it needs to be, to have him behind Guerrero. So suck it up, pay him the extra year, or give him $5 more million every season of average annual value to work out to that extra year.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, figure it out. Get it done. This is somebody that's actually apparently interested in coming here. That's got to be few and far between.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of free agents that we've been in on and then have decided to go elsewhere, right? Ultimately.
Oh, sorry, guys. I was typing in stuff, and that happens.
Shout out to Jose Barrios right there, La Maquina. But, you listen to that Jeff Passan article where he's talking about why this offseason's an unmitigated disaster, and a lot of what it is that he had to say is that players just don't want to come here because you don't have a farm system and you don't have guys locked up. So if Santander is actually interested in coming here, if that's true, I mean, you gotta take it, right? Because there's not that many guys who have been interested in coming here.
Yeah, of course. And look, like right here, what I was pulling up right there as I flashed over all our beautiful live play-by-play graphics. In 2029 would be his final year that he's here. It's going to be him and Andres Jimenez. Getting paid $23 and I guess $20 million or whatever. Whatever, dude. Like, who cares if he's bad at that point? Like, you can go and figure it out when you get there. And I know that, like, maybe you start adding in more contracts as you go on now. It starts to look a little bit more deeper. But you're hoping, look, I look at it this way. You have one more year to bring a competitive roster, and then who cares? At that point, we got to cross that bridge when we get there because we don't even know if we're going to be competitive 26, 27, 28. Like, we have to, scrap it all down anyways. And having $43 million, let's say, committed in 2029 isn't a big deal.
No, probably not, man. Shout out and thank you to Chris for becoming an elite member of the channel.
Go.
W's in the chat there. That's fucking awesome. And also there, we got a subscriber as well. So W's in the chat to Chris and to Slews Media for subscribing and joining the membership, guys. We appreciate all of you and the 259 people in here. If you haven't already subscribed or liked the stream, please make sure to do so, everybody. That's kind of the latest right now on Santander. Now, I have been hearing in terms of an Alex Bregman that things are kind of slowing down there a little bit.
Yeah.
We are still in the mix, as we've been with every one of these free agents, but it's starting to feel like Santander is a lot more realistic, and Alex Bregman might not be the guy for us this offseason.
Right, and like what Nick's referring to is last Friday, Ari Alexander talked about the Santander contract for the Blue Jays. He's saying it's a very real, very, very real possibility that the Blue Jays, Red Sox, or Tigers could be in on him. But then you also had in the same report by Cardinals Live talking about Bregman, saying, Jays, I'm hearing less on Bregman. That really doesn't mean you're out. I'm just saying hearing less on that topic. It's gotten tight-lipped. Could be a negative or positive. Sometimes when things get hot, it can go quiet. And I think a lot of dominoes. I mean, we talk about dominoes like, Soto and Burns. There's also dominoes at this tier right now. Like, there's the whole Nolan Arenado trade where the Red Sox are apparently kind of thinking about that, and then Nolan Arenado would waive his no-trade clause for the Boston Red Sox, so they're kind of looking at that right there, and that makes a lot of sense for them. You go get Nolan Arenado, well, then that's one less guy for Bregman, right? And then Bregman, it's okay, now it's clearly down to the Tigers and Blue Jays, but also there's the whole Santander thing, because you also got the Tigers interested in on Santander, so you kind of need a couple one of these guys to get traded or sign for it to happen. But I wouldn't hold my breath on Bregman. If I'd be more interested in that. We're going to be the first domino that gets Santander, and then those other guys can fall elsewhere.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not holding my breath on anyone this offseason.
You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
Again, it's still possible, guys, that they do nothing, right? And we need to be very clear with that. Like Kevin's in here saying, aren't you guys tired of talking about this?
I'm exhausted.
Like Atkins and Zapiro ultimately let us down. And yeah, it is very fatiguing. So all of this needs to be taken and just understood that there's also the possibility that they whiff on everything, and this offseason is an unmitigated disaster. There is still time, though. There's 2 months until spring training and everything like that, so there's opportunities to still go out and make this team better. But yeah, like they got to get it done. They got to cross the finish line, or to Jeff Passan's point, this will be a complete disaster of an offseason.
Yeah, and we got to hope we don't get there, man. I said this before, too, when we were talking about the whole should we rebuild or should we be competitive in 2025. We were, tossing around like, well, we think it makes the most sense to rebuild this offseason. But also, do I really want to watch our rebuilding team? No. I mean, sure, maybe in the future me will be thanking me, right? Like I thanked me in 2017, 18, and 19 when we got Bo and Vlad coming up. But right now, I'm not ready to watch a losing team. We watched a losing team last year. I want to get one more shot. We have Bo and Vlad. Let's do one more shot, and that's all I'm asking for. I'm not expecting a World Series run. I just want a shot to watch interesting baseball, and you never know at the game of baseball. Things might go our way.
Yeah, of course. Anything can happen. I mean, fuck, my favorite football team lost to the Chicago Bears yesterday,
That's right.
guys. If you know anything about football, then you know that never happens. And it was just anything that could go wrong did go wrong. So it's possible that anything that could go right goes right for the Toronto Blue Jays. And, we pull off Chicago Bears and beat the New York Yankees or what have you. So that's on the table still.
Because let's be honest, last year, everything went wrong for the Jays.
Everything went wrong.
What went right? Vladdy had a nice year. I literally can't name it. Oh, maybe the defensive
Bowden Francis.
Bowden Francis the last 2 months when it didn't matter. Like, that was it.
But
right?
most things, honestly, went wrong.
Most things went wrong. So you got to think, hopium coming in, that things are going to go to the other side and things are going to go right. Because think about the prior year, too, 2023. Everything went right for that rotation. Not a single injury, 32 starts for 4 guys. We were like, holy shit. This is a great rotation, and we knew we got lucky, but then obviously things went wrong, of course, on the other side of things.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the latest right now on Bregman. I do want to bring up, before we move on, just a little note on Jack Flaherty. Once again, take it with a grain of salt, everybody, but it has been reported that we are in the mix for the Jack Flaherty sweepstakes. We've been calling. We've talked about it. We're interested. I mean, they were talking at the beginning of this offseason that they really wanted to go out and get a starter. That hasn't happened yet, and you've missed out on some of the top tier ones, Snell and Fried and Corbin Burns, all off the board. The next best guy, okay, I guess you could argue it's Roki Sasaki, but then after that, it is definitely a Jack Flaherty. So it's great to hear that they're interested, and I could definitely see the Toronto Blue Jays going out and making that move, just because we know how much Ross Atkins loves his pitching and his defense. But keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of other suitors that are probably better suited than the Toronto Blue Jays out for Jack Flaherty, and ultimately that's definitely something that I wouldn't be holding my breath for.
Yeah, because it comes down to the exact same fact. We don't look attractive. We're just not attractive for Jack Flaherty. I mean,
and there's other better teams out there for him, whereas for Santander, it feels like it's us, and then kind of admit, I know the Angels were in on it too,
right?
And then you got the Tigers, who maybe they could, I guess you could make an argument that they're potentially better suited to move in the future than we are, but it's not horrendously far off.
Not.
Whereas for Flaherty, I have heard that the Orioles could be interested, even though there's some speculation there, and some other better teams are certainly going to be looking at him. Shout out and thank you to
Candace Frank.
There you go. W's in the chat for Candace Frank for subscribing to the channel.
Yeah. No, I hear that, but it's a good point. I'm not holding my breath, but I mean, Anthony Santander is probably the only thing giving me any hope right now. And if we don't get him, I'm going to be truly, truly sad.
Yes. Absolutely. Now, if we did get Hopium again, Santander and Flaherty, if both of those things happen, I might be all the way back.
I'm all the way back, baby.
I might actually be all the way back, everybody. That's just that quick little fandom coming out there. That's how you bring me back in. They're going to bring me back in anyways, but that's how you bring me back in now.
That's how you bring me back emotionally. Dude, walking in right now to the season, what do you feel? Think about opening day right now. What do you feel right now with this roster? How do you feel?
Not good, and and I need to. I'll tell you exactly. I probably don't feel much of anything actually until they come out and then surprise everyone, and we're 20 games in, and they're 15-5. And that's when I'd have to buy in.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm walking in not feeling a whole lot. And if on the flip side of things they start 5-15, then I'm like, oh, my pre-existing beliefs are confirmed.
Yep.
This is a shit season. I'm already out. I could be done after 20 games.
Dude, the Jays need to have a great start for me to buy in.
Correct. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's we have all these guys on paper, but we know that sometimes the paper doesn't translate to on-field results, as we know. But you never know. Maybe this on the paper thing is oh, this looks bad, but all of a sudden Will Wagner's actually him, and Orelvis Martinez is hitting 8 homers in April, and we're oh, okay.
Look, it happens every year that a team that you don't expect is good, right? I mean, 2 years ago, the Diamondbacks went to the World Series. Nobody even thought they were going to be good at all walking into the season. Years before that, the San Francisco Giants were really, really good, right? There's going to be teams that break out in MLB and just completely out of nowhere, and you're like, wait, how did you guys get good at baseball?
Right.
And here they are. So we just got to hope that that's us, but it would require getting off to a hot start for me to really believe, because also you got to factor in yes, the season is 162 games, but actually it's more like 100.
Yeah, you got to win the first 100.
You got it, because that 100 is going to dictate the trade deadline, and then that could completely sink everything. So Just a bunch of variables involved.
Yeah,
there.
if you think it's exhausting talking about which free agents we're going to be interested in and which free agents we're going to get this offseason.
Get ready for the Vladdy trade talks.
Oh, and that, I was going to say, get ready for a whole season if we get off to a bad start of, like, depression and getting angry and not watch. Like, it was just, I think that's going to be way worse than what we're experiencing right now.
100%, yeah. And again, especially if it's a bad start, then you know, within 1 month of time, like by the end of April, and like Toronto Blue Jays are like 4th or 5th in the division, everyone around the league is going to be looking at Guerrero and saying, that guy is the prize of the trade deadline. I don't want to report on it. I don't want to speculate on it. I don't want any of that to happen. So, yes, we got to get off to a hot start.
We do, man. We do. So that's the latest right there, everybody. If anything else breaks, your guys are going to be live here on Blue Jays today. Let's hope to God it happens this week and just let's move on. Gosh darn it. I'm ready. One guy that we have moved on from, fan favorite here on the show. You guys know the Cooch is loose. You say Kikuchi. I just thought
he got loose, bro.
He got real loose, almost too loose. Like he lost himself a little bit. But I thought this was funny, just to add a little sprinkle into this like depressing offseason. You say Kikuchi is posted by you Darvish. Apparently they're out vacationing with their families and got a little drunk. Literally, remember this bottle? Remember the bottle that he would drink with his teammates after every win that he starts with? It'll have a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of Japanese whiskey, but apparently Kikuchi was taking all his wins and drinking them in one night, and he drank most of the bottle he brought with him, eventually passed out drunk. He couldn't find an Uber to take us home, so he ended up staying the night, and there he is. There's our guy, Yusei Kikuchi, getting nice and loose.
The Cooch was absolutely loose, man, with you, Darvish. That's cool to see, man. The baseball players getting after it in the offseason.
When we first started this channel, we were just like kind of fucking around, and we were like, man, you think these guys get drunk? Well, we know it now. 5 years later.
Definitely does happen. And I'll be honest, man, like when Yusei Kikuchi was here, like I never would have pegged him to be a guy to just go out and get after it like that with you, Darvish. But there he is, lying on the tiles of you, Darvish's home.
And his phone is like in the corner there.
Over there in the corner, and he couldn't find the Uber home.
He's like, where's the Uber? Where's the
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Shout out. I hope that he's enjoying the LA lifestyle. He is now a LA Angel. I'm sure that there will be more of that to come. But just a fun tidbit of information right there that Yusei Kikuchi, he's having himself a time right now.
He is,
now,
man.
Before we give a shout out to the sponsor, because I know we're going to do that, I did want to actually just give another quick shout out to a former Toronto Blue Jay, Cavan Biggio, getting himself a landing spot over there with the Kansas City Royals. I believe it's a minor league deal. So he's going to be there on the minor league team. You might never see Cavan Biggio come up to the MLB again. Like, it's actually possible that you never see that happen. He's got to play good. He's got to hit the goddamn ball. But regardless of all of that, credit to him for getting himself a contract, getting another payday. I always hoped that it would work out for him. Obviously, it didn't work out here, but there he is over there on Kansas City. And who knows? Maybe if somebody gets injured there, you see him in MLB again.
That's the thing. I think, there could be an injury. He could get another shot at the MLB level. I think he's going to be a great AAA player. I think he's going to be a great AAA player because they don't have the command, right? They don't have as good as command, so, maybe he gets a lot more walks. Maybe he has an on-base percentage of, 420 or something like that, and he's like Juan Soto, but in AAA. And I really think that's his potential, but at the big league level, everyone knows, I'll just put a fastball in the middle, and you'll just look at it for strike three.
Right.
So, anyways, shout out to Cavan Biggio. Maybe, hopefully you get one more shot with the apparently better team, Kansas City Royals.
I think they are, actually.
They're the better team.
Right now, let's give another shout-out here to the sponsor of this video.
Hey, guys, time for a quick shout-out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only. Must be 19 years older to participate. And, guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody, for being absolutely phenomenal, guys. It is a place to go if you have any interest at all in sports betting. And if you are NFL fans at all, then usually this is the most exciting weekend of football coming up. That's what everybody always calls it. Like, this is where you really, this one and then the next one when you get the divisional round, because it's just all good teams going up against each other. It's super wild card weekend this weekend, folks. And the first matchup is the Chargers versus the Texans. Two teams that are both like relatively evenly matched. Texans going to be at home. They're not playing great right now. Chargers on the other side of things kind of surging at the right moment. Herbert really starting to find himself and show that, hey, I am that guy that all of you thought I was. Now that I have an actual coach that knows what he's doing, like, we are working.
Yeah.
Who do you got in this one?
Man, I got the Chargers -3.5. We said it on our Bad for Baseball show. It's coming out in a few hours, guys. But 205 for a team that is the number one defense in NFL versus the Texans, whose offense just kind of is very questionable right now.
It's been sputtering, man.
And like, I get you're at home, but like, is that going to be enough of a boost to have you score runs against the number one defense against a really good Justin Herbert right now? J.K. Dobbins is back. It feels like the Chargers' momentum is just going to slam dunk, and the fact that the -3.5 is 205, I like it.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned to be like, betting on a road team, heading into a division winner, but honestly, that division's kind of trash. Yeah. And yeah, the Texans haven't been doing great. So, you guys let us know in the comments down below. Who are you riding with in this one, and who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Let's get some Packers love in the comments, guys. I mean, we're reeling. It's loser Monday. I don't even have it. It's either Victory Monday or nothing, right? And I'm in nothing right now. So, you guys, let's get some Packers love in the comments, folks.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get some love for the questions we got in our mailbag. If you haven't submitted your question to our mailbag and you want your question answered on the show, link is in the description, everybody. Click on the Google form, submit your question there. We'll get it. We'll put it up right here on Blue Jays Today every Monday and every Friday. We got a question in here. I thought this one was funny, from Sweeps asking, who will leave the Blue Jays organization first, Ross or Vladdy?
Wow, that's actually that's an amazing question.
It is a great question.
Seriously, Sweeps, that is a great question right there, man. Like, I got to give you credit. That's such a good one because they're kind of tied together,
They are.
You'd think, right? Well, if Vladdy leaves, you would hope that means that Ross is like immediately out the door behind him, right?
Right.
So I guess in that terminology, it'd be Vlad. But. Like that's a tough one. Like, you need somebody in there to handle the Vladdy extension talks and the negotiations, right? So would you fire Ross Atkins before Vladdy has gone, or are you letting him like ride this one out and try to get this across the finish line, and then Vladdy leaving is like the camel that broke, or the straw that broke the camel's back, and now Ross Atkins goes. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Vladdy leaving first, but you let me know.
Me too. And the reason behind it is, well, I think the right move to win or to extend Vladdy and to win, actually both, is to let Ross go first. But you got to remember, Rogers Communication Company, they've got the money, and if they're not supplying Ross with enough money, well, you can't just blame Ross. That's a you decision. So like, you're kind of part of this too. So letting Vlad walk is also on the upper management. So, but I do think if Vladdy walks, it then becomes a business decision where, okay, now we're entering rebuild and the fans are upset now. Now we get rid of Ross. So I think more times than not, Vladdy's gone first, which is shitty to say.
I think that he is like by him leaving, it actually, enters us into a new era. And that's when you ultimately decide to find a new GM.
Yeah.
Right. If he stays, then you might actually see Ross Atkins stay for a bit, because like that's his project and that's like his guy. Now it obviously depends on what happens this offseason or this season, and everything like that.
Hey guys,
but
time for a quick shout out to the sponsor.
Shout out to Betway, everybody. But it is probably Vladdy that is going to be the first one that goes there. Which it does suck to say, right? Like I would love to see Ross leave right now, actually, and just get gone. But that is probably not going to happen. It looks like most people in the chat saying that, probably going to be Vladdy that dips out first. I just have no confidence that Ross is going to be capable of extending that guy at this point.
No, not at all, man. So thank you for the question, Sweeps. That really kind of took me back a second. I was like, oh shit, the guy I hate the most is going to be here after the guy I love the most leaves. So thank you, Sweeps, for that. The next question right here is coming in from Josh. Speaking of free agents, this whole podcast. If the Blue Jays happen to sign one of Santander or Bregman, that still leaves a hole at DH. True. Who do you think fills that hole? Would it be someone internally or externally? I was thinking we could still sign Yohan Moncada. Thoughts? So who fills that DH role? Because, yeah, we don't really have a DH, right?
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing, though, to not have a DH, because I think that by not having a DH, you leave the door open to potentially give some prospects some opportunities and stuff. Like, you can just cycle, like, let's say that you have I don't know, like, you got a strong, like Aurelio Martinez, for instance, but well, now you have a DH spot that's open. Well, maybe he could do that for a couple days, and then he can get in the field, and then Ernie Clement could do that or whatever. I think it just leaves your options open.
Yeah.
And honestly, like for somebody like a Yohan Moncada, like I'd actually prefer the option of the prospect than Moncada, because I don't really believe in Moncada that much. Maybe he's going to prove me wrong this year and just pop off. If you could, however, get somebody that is of a higher caliber, like a Pete Alonso, which they're not going to get, but let's just say it's somebody like that, like who's, you actually really believe in the talent there, then that for me is worth giving up that spot, because ultimately that guy's going to hit 40 home runs.
Yeah.
And, we need that in the lineup. So, I honestly, like, I'd love for them to go out and get a DH if it's somebody that's really strong. But I don't really feel like we need to go out and get another Justin Turner and then like take at bats away from some of the prospects, because I do eventually we got to start seeing these guys, the top ones, especially Aurelio Martinez, and you're going to need space to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're looking right now at the lineup right here. Right now they have Will Wagner as a DH because you got Andres Jimenez taking up the second base spot, right? That was supposed to be Will Wagner because he showed some potential in the 86 of plate appearances. So there was him. There's Joey Loperfido. If you go get a Santander, maybe you want to try him some ABs. Leo Jimenez, Jonathan Clase. Like, you're saying, if you want to get like Jonathan Clase out in the field, well, you move him in right, and then George Springer DHs, right? Because you also got this aging George Springer that might need some DH opportunities nowadays, and you want to bet some better legs out there. You don't want to hurt them all year. So I think the DH is less of a position of need and more of a utility or a tool that John Schneider can use to keep his older guys rested and to give his younger guys some opportunities like Nick said.
That's what I mean, right? And like we kind of kept running into the problem last year where it's like, well, we have a locked-in DH that has to be there every day.
Yep.
And well, because of that, then it's difficult to bring up Spencer Horwitz because remember that conversation at the beginning, right? It's like, well, we can't bring up Horwitz because, well, he plays first base, and then it's like you're gonna have Vladdy there, and then you also have Justin Turner, and that kind of delayed him coming up for a long period of time until they were like, well, we got to do it because he's so good down there. And I don't know, like we already have so many log jams as it is. Like unless the guy that you're bringing in is truly a difference maker, like an Alonso or I don't even know, like maybe like a Profar or something, but he'd never be a DH.
Yeah, he'd be
that's
utility.
Like it has to be a unique situation for me to be like, all right, absolutely, like that guy's worth it. Bring him in.
I agree. So thank you for the question there, Josh. That's a good one. We got one more in here from Mark, and it's a fun one, actually. I had a fun time reading this. Mark says, help! I can't watch the Blue Jays anymore until a front office retool. Fair enough. I mean, a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. He continues to say, I used to watch almost every game since the Jays fired Montoyo and pulled Barrios in the playoffs. I have gained less and less interest in seeing them as it is just too hard to see them play. TOO. If we blew up, I'd watch again, but our roster is far is identical to last year. Which other MLB team, other than White Sox and AA team, would you recommend watching until something changes, until Atkins gets fired? As long as it's not the Yankees, I'd be happy to watch them from afar in 2025.
Literally asking us who else to watch other than the Toronto Blue Jays because the pain is just too much. Holy shit. Well, I'll tell you what, man. There's a pretty exciting and easy follow along with the LA Dodgers over there on the East Coast. But if you're not trying to be a complete bandwagoner, honestly, like some of the other teams in that National League, like maybe the Arizona Diamondbacks, like if you want to follow along with them, like they're kind of fun and exciting. I think it's kind of cool. We got the people in here saying the Mets, like they would honestly be pretty fun and exciting. But like in truth, just ride with the punches, man. Ride with the punches, because then when we do finally get out of this pit, this hole that we're in right now, it's going to feel that much better. You don't want to be known as a bandwagoner to, jump off the bandwagon now that we're shit, go over there and then jump back on when we're good. follow along, feel the pain with us, and then when they do inevitably win a World Series in 2150, it's gonna be that much better
when we develop AI technology to keep us alive that long. And we can finally watch the Blue Jays, win a World Series. But yeah, I mean, watch the Dodgers. I'm gonna watch the Dodgers from afar this year. I think they're super cool. I love Teoscar Hernandez, so I love Freddie Freeman too. He's one of my favorite players in baseball. Obviously, Ohtani, gotta love him. There's just so much love for players over there. I gotta watch.
I'm gonna watch the Dodgers just for the love of the game of baseball. Yeah. I'm not gonna be an active fan of them, but it is it's going to be. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be exciting and fun to watch those games just because there's so many fucking cool people on that team. You know?
Yeah,
and like you said, they're all likable. There's not really anybody in that lineup or in that pitching staff or anything that I'm like, I hate you. Pretty much all of them. I'm like, pretty cool dude, and I wish that you were on my team.
Yeah,
so.
They're the complete package. We break it down on Bad for Baseball coming out in a few hours, but they're the best team ever, and there's the worst player on their team is a long relief guy in their bullpen that is also a highly touted prospect of theirs. So that's perfect.
That is actually ridiculous. So but if anybody doesn't want to hop off the Toronto Blue Jays, well, we're going to be here, guys.
Let's go.
So we'll be here, dealing with the pain just along with all of you. But that is the Blue Jays Today Show. Honestly, a very quiet week for the Toronto Blue Jays and just MLB news in general. We are really hoping, crossing our fingers, that we get some updates on Anthony Santander soon, because it feels like that's what's got to happen, man. And if you miss out on him, then, like Jeff Passan said, might be an unmitigated disaster of an offseason.
Yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today. $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our Patreon members and to our YouTube members who are here in the chat. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always,
go Jays, go!